Hi, how you doing? It's Matt. Welcome to another video. So it's been a long time since I last did a video, so I thought it would be time to kind of get back into it again. And I thought, although it's March, it'd be nice to kind of show some of my best finds from 2022. So I'll get straight into it. So first up, I have here Free Your Mind and Your Ass Will Follow. This is Funkadelic's second album. This is released in 1970 and it came just before the famous Maggot Brain. But in my opinion it holds up really well against it. Eddie Hazel's guitar is just killer, blazes away, kind of really melds in with this wild and wacky psychedelic and funky goodness that's kind of developing further still from the debut release, although that's a bit more bluesy, I think. It really gives you a taste of what was about to come with Maggot Brain. On this one, it's actually difficult to pinpoint a favourite track on here, but I think the opening title track is really fantastic and brings kind of like really nice like feel to the album, opens it really well. Some brilliant tracks on here though, to be honest. This is actually a German test pressing from the early 90s. It sounds absolutely phenomenal. I found this record fair a few months ago and paid like next to nothing. I think it was 15 or 20 pounds or something like that, but really cool. A very nice release. Now next up here I have a very nice copy of Otis Redding Sings Soul. This is a UK original from 1965, and I found this. This is actually on the Purple Atlantic label. This is the mono version. It sounds absolutely lovely. I have a few soul albums in my collection, and I did have a later reissue of this one, but I've actually been very keen to find a good original copy. And this is a well-known classic, one that gets a mention frequently from what I've seen. There are many covers on this one, but I think they're brilliant. Just like, I think the big one is My Girl by The Temptations and Rock Me Baby by B.B. King, and of course Satisfaction by The Stones. I really like Otis Redding's well-known track from here, Respect, and also Wonderful World, written by Sam Cooke, Herb Alpert and Lou Adler. Sam Cooke wrote, I think, 3 tracks on this record, but unfortunately passed away before it was released. This has, I think, been reissued by Analog Productions and it's talked about quite a lot, but to be honest, I think with this one you just can't go wrong with a nice, warm original. I found this in a collection that I bought last year and I was very happy to stumble across it. Now the sleeve's a little bit damaged, but the record is super clean, which is what matters, and it sounds just wonderful. My girlfriend just loved listening to this one. It's great. So here for my next one is Ernest Rangling's Below the Bassline. This is a Japanese 2021 reissue of this jazz reggae released by Ernest Rangling. This was actually originally done, I think, in 1996. And now this is a brilliant amalgamation of jazz and reggae with some kind of ska moments in between. And this is very uplifting, and while Ernest Rangling has released albums with a very similar style, I think there was one was called Guitar in Earnest in 1965, this one kind of draws away from the soul essence of his earlier stuff and perhaps kind of sounds a little bit more contemporary. This has Idris Muhammad on drums, which really adds to the kind of uplifting rocksteady style. I really enjoy the track on here, Black Disciples. I guess it just kind of seems like the perfect fusion of jazz and reggae. And I don't know a lot about reggae, to be honest. I'm not going to pretend I do, but I don't really think you need to enjoy this album. It's just really cool. This reissue sounds excellent, and sometimes with Japanese pressings, the high end can be over enhanced a little bit and the bass can be cut off, but this sounds perfect, absolutely perfect. Very nice, very glad to have that one. So here for my next one I have Joe Beck's Nature Boy. This is a criminally underrated psychedelic gem, and it's one that I've been looking for a while now. Joe Beck was mainly known for his work as a jazz guitarist, but this debut is just a side beast, and it's got some kind of jazz influences thrown in here and there, and it's just brilliant from start to finish. It was released in 1969, and the opening title track was actually, I think it was originally recorded by Nat King Cole, but on this one it's just definitely the highlight. The wah-wah guitar effects and the brilliant guitar pieces in there, it just make this a great opener. And to be honest, the wah-wah guitar effect kind of comes and goes throughout the album, and some really stellar guitar work which really adds to the music. It just sounds incredible, really good. Some other great artists contributed to this, including I think Danny Whitten, who went on to actually play with Crazy Horse, and the famous jazz trumpeter, I think his name was Randy Brecker. Now I did have this on CD when I was at university, but I lent it to someone and never got it back. I actually thought this, to be honest, I thought I'd never find one, but I bought this from a record shop owner from his personal collection, a guy I've known since I was younger. And this is actually a US promo copy on the original Ver Forecast label. And this is clean as a whistle and sounds absolutely magnificent. I think I paid like 15 to 20 quid or something like that for this. He didn't want it anymore, so today you can have it. Thank you, great. So my next one here, this is The Excursions. This was released in 1971, and this is this band's only release, and it was on an independent label. These guys were actually a Christian rock band from Chicago, and they played a lot of low-key gigs around like the late 60s around the States. This is very bluesy and heavy, and brings in a lot of kind of psychedelic guitar effects that just work really, really, really well, come together really nicely. The vocalist and guitarist, a guy called Mike Johnson, has like really nice gravelly lyrics, and his guitar work is just really, really good with kind of heavy blues style fuzz guitar, which reminds me a little bit of the band Frigid Pink. But his guitar really shines on the track called It's Been Set Down. It's got this kind of earth-shattering solo that just really bakes the track. It's also this track also kind of like brings out the religious side of the band, which you honestly wouldn't expect, just given the way the guy shreds. You wouldn't ever think there's anything religious associated with it. Another song called Third Eye has some really nice psychedelic riffs, which I think, sound really good as well. The drummer, a guy called Fly Johnson, he does a drum solo also on the track It's Been Set Down, which really kind of, alongside the guitar segment, really makes the song just amazing. It's definitely one of the highlights in the album, but honestly this thing is really good from start to finish. Some really nice tracks. I got very lucky on this one. I think I paid £50 for this on eBay. Pretty scarce album, very difficult to find. These go from £100 to £200. This one, I don't think it's ever been played. Honestly, when I got it, I don't think it's ever been played. It sounds absolutely awesome. I think they did a reissue of this year, which is great because this was the only pressing available of this for a very long time. This, yeah, on the independent label there. Really difficult to find. Very happy to have that one. Brilliant, brilliant record. Okay, so my next one here, this is an album from The Sound. This is called From the Lion's Mouth, and this was released in 1981. Some really nice early 80s post-punks, kind of similar lane to the likes of Echo and the Bunnymen and Modern English. This is their second album and the best one in my opinion. Now, The Sound were heavily influenced by the kind of bleak model of post-punk that was set by Joy Division, as many were at that time. And this band were, and perhaps very underrated, and I think they still are, to be honest. They actually were dropped by the record label after their third album, and they never really recovered despite releasing another 4 albums in the 80s. On this album, the highlight track is actually the final track, which runs over about 10 minutes, just over. It just has this kind of apocalyptic bellowing and dreary sound, which kind of builds to a great crescendo towards the end. Really, really, really good. This is the first UK press on the Corova label. I found this in a record shop in Manchester for a really good price, and even though the sleeves are a tiny little bit worn in places, the record is high-end VG+, sounds amazing. So I was very lucky to find these because these are really tough to find. Record shop owner was quite surprised that, he didn't realise he had it in his stock, so very, very, very glad to find that one. Okay. Here now for my next one, this is Black Beauty. This is a 2012 archival release from the band Love. This is on the High Moon label, and it's kind of like a compilation of recording sessions that were done in 1973, and it's often described as like the missing link in their catalogue. Now, in the wake of the album Forever Changes, the original lineup dissolved of Love, and Arthur Lee continued with a different lineup then and released 3 pretty good albums in the late 60s and early 70s. It took on more of like a blues rock direction with some kind of inspiration from Hendrix, I think, as well. After releasing a solo album in 1972, he was a bit lost at that kind of point, and he decided to throw together a new lineup again, including a guitarist called Melvin Whittington. He did some like recording sessions in '73, and I think the recordings were under the Buffalo record label at the time with the assistance of the Doors producer Paul Rothchild, or ex-Doors producer by that time. And the record label actually went bust, and many of the recordings went unreleased, with I think a couple of them were thrown in on later releases in the 70s, on a couple of the 70s albums. But this just is some really good heavy psych influence, like really nice. A couple of covers on here, including Beat Beat by the Playmates and a song called Walk Right In by Gus Cannon and Jose Woods. Other great tracks on here include Stay Away and See Myself In You, and another song called Products of the Times, which has got some really awesome guitar work. I think this one in particular was actually pressed from an original acetate. There's a tiny bit of echoey distortion here and there, but to be honest, the thing sounds amazing. Really clear, really dynamic, you wouldn't know it. I actually picked this one up at a record shop in Liverpool, and I was very happy to find it overall. Got it for a very good price, so really happy with that one. Okay, so next up here I have Flaming Lips. This is an album called Here It Is. This is a US original copy on Pink Dust. Yeah, I actually found this still sealed in a record shop in London. These are an interesting, many people have heard this, but these are an interesting group from Oklahoma. And this debut was released in 1986, and this was released after a lineup change and after a guy called Mark Coyne, one of the two founding brothers, actually left the band, and his brother Wayne Coyne remained and led on vocals. Now, on this album, the highlights, I think, definitely is Jesus Shooting Heroin, which is a great track, but also Trains, Brains and Brains is also a good song. I also quite like another one of the releases called Yoshimi Battles the Pink Robots. I think that kind of put them on the map, I suppose. But I think this debut release is just kind of solid American indie rock of this era. You know, really great stuff. Many of the releases carry this kind of youthful, daft, obscure vibes, kind of psychedelic elements thrown in. I do enjoy a lot of their albums. I've got 2 or 3 in my collection, 2 or 3 more in my collection. I had some mixed feelings about their 2008 cover of Dark Side of the Moon, though, to be honest. Yeah, I'm not going to say much more about that. But until I bought this one, I actually had this 2017 reissue, which sounded okay, quite cheap, quite available, not bad to find. Nowhere near as good as the original, though. Sounds fantastic. You know, you can say what you want about 80s vinyl. I think many of them sound absolutely fantastic, despite some of them can be a little bit flimsy, I've noticed. Anyway, thank you very much for listening. That's it for now. And I hope to do another video soon. When I get my act together, I'll put up another one very, very soon. But again, thank you very much, and I'll see you in another video. Bye-bye.